You know, I want to say right now that I basically predicted what this film was going to be about, more or less, based on the title alone. I mean, Bring Her Back. I mean, it's kind of obvious, don't you think?
Don't you think?
But I'm happy to report that now that I've seen the film, I was right. It's exactly about what I thought it was going to be about. I don't know, maybe I'm just old or jaded or something, or seen too many movies, but I don't know, it just really seemed like I knew where it was going to go, just from the title alone. Bring Her Back, directed by the Philippou twins, Danny and Michael, who also directed the 2023 horror hit Talk to Me, has been touted as the newest horror film to unsettle audiences' stomachs. But is that all it really does? I don't know, didn't bother me too much. I was eating a burrito while I was watching it. Bring Her Back stars Sally Hawkins as Laura, a foster mother who takes in two newly orphaned children under her suspicious wing after their father self-deletes in the shower. And it's at this point, right in the 5-minute mark of the movie, that we get our standard awkward male nudity, brought to you by A24. Yep, and I was eating a burrito through that too. 17-year-old Andy, played by Billy Barrett, has always looked after his younger disabled sister Piper, protecting her from bullies at school, and even from seeing what a terrible person their father was to him by hiding whenever he was abused for Piper's sake. Yeah, I know what I did there by saying, seeing what a terrible person their father was. I'm a terrible person for writing that. So when the two children are introduced to Laura shortly after their father is gone and they are placed in her care, we know that something's not right with her right off the bat. So of course, creepy Laura also has a token creepy child living with her named Ollie, who does what creepy kids do best in horror movies: stare at you with a blank face and do weird, creepy kid stuff.
What? No!
You know, convulsing, eating strange things, spacing out, making weird noises, doing things we can't see with a cat. Oh, you mean like how everyone acts in public now? Right away, we get that something isn't right with Laura and Ollie, and so do our main characters, Piper and Andy, who spend the rest of the film's runtime trying to figure out what her and Ollie's deal is. The cast mostly consists of 4 or 5 characters. It's Laura and Ollie, Andy and Piper, and there are of course some other ancillary characters, but they all serve specific purposes throughout the plot. In fact, nothing is wasted. There is no fat in this film, and everything introduced is either overtly or subtly has a reason for being there and or a payoff later on. That tightness is what works so well in conjunction with my next point, that the filmmakers put trust in their audience and left a lot for us to make connections and discoveries with on our own. It didn't treat us like a Marvel Disney movie would, holding our hands at every turn, telling us how these characters felt and what they were going through. The only negative is that the story and the plot points aren't new territory in the way that Talk to Me was. This is more of the same thing we've seen in other horror movies, hell, other movies period. But the upside was that it was all done in a very pleasing way. And pleasing to the eyes. The film is wonderfully shot, with lots of visual motifs, circles, mirrors, windows, urine, and water. Wait, what? Urine? Oh, you'll understand what I'm talking about once you see it. Yes, it's flowing throughout the film like a trough at a concert venue bathroom. You can almost just smell it in the air. Or if you're in any major US city, you just walk out on the street and smell it all for yourself. As the film goes on, we learn more about Ollie, and of course we get more on Laura's backstory, but it's just enough to kind of keep us interested and guessing. However, it's enough to make even the most casual moviegoer connect the dots rather easily. But even if you do figure everything out rather quickly, that's not to say there's nothing left to love. Nothing left of me to love. Nothing left of me to love. Love for sale. Yummy love for sale. But I will say, the acting, the cinematography, the editing, frame composition, mise-en-scene, it really leaves a lot to look at and be interested in, even if you've already figured everything else out plot-wise. So while Talk to Me is a more straight-up horror film with emotional elements, Bring Her Back is more of a dramatic thriller with horror elements. Talk to Me was also a new spin on an old premise of talking with the dead, and while Bring Her Back is more of an old premise with an old filmmaking sensibility with loss and grief and gaslighting and perception. The cast is all on top of their game here, especially the standout, of course, Sally Hawkins, who you don't really trust from the second you meet her. And she does a really good job at sowing that mistrust. And you do sort of end up identifying with her as the film goes on, as you learn more about her. But also in that classic connect the dots style, while you identify with her, you also see where she's wrong and shouldn't be doing what she's doing. Because, yeah, damn those consequences, but some of those consequences affect other people. And that's something I think people of 2025 should really learn. It's a delight to see her running around the house, fucking with these kids, plotting and scheming.
You know, they're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little worlds.
And in the back of your mind, you know what she's up to, but you're just waiting to see how it all unfolds and how these kids handle it.
I'm not a schemer.
Especially Andy, who, you know, I said before that Sally Hawkins was the main character of the film. I really think it's kind of, it's both of their films, and the fact that both are essential opposing forces, and you really side with one or another. And at times I think you do go back and forth between them, thinking that each of them are right and wrong in their own respective scenes. Both characters present perfect motivation to side with them. Well, mostly Andy, who is the only one Laura doesn't fool with her overly cheery, passive-aggressive facade.
I'm supposed to report how safe and reliable you are. So stay safe, stay reliable, yeah?
And I mean, it's not like Piper can see it anyway. Stop him! And you know, I've seen a lot of marketing for this film touting it as the most original horror film in years, which I'll have to disagree with. Because while the execution may be a little bit more polished than other attempts, the story is something that we have seen time and time again. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it said there are only like 7 stories in the whole world, and there's enough story and enough to love in Bring Her Back. From the foreboding atmosphere, Sally Hawkins running around like a maniac stealing every scene she's in, to creepy-ass Ollie being creepy, and everything and everyone in front of and behind the camera, making a movie that's still enjoyable, even though it seems a little familiar. So while it didn't immediately strike me as one of the best films of the year the way Sinners did, Bring Her Back checks all the boxes and still a solid use of your horror movie watching time. It's no talk to me, but don't let the sophomore slump fool you. Danny and Michael Philippou are still ones to watch in the horror sphere, and hell, in the filmmaking sphere. I'm really interested to see what these guys do next, and I'll gladly go see their next film. It's elevated horror. It's not filled with jump scares and pop songs. It's a well-told story that'll keep you interested, but unfortunately, it's an often told story, but it will still keep you interested. If you're a gore hound, yeah, there's plenty to love here. I thought it was just okay in the gore department. My burrito sat fine with me during the entire film.
Burrito.
Your mileage may vary on that. But if you're a little to a lot squeamish, you might want to skip this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are plenty worse gross out films than this, but you know, this film did feel very visceral in the gore department. Everything felt very real and nothing felt cheap or, you know, low budget. It felt like they put some time and care into their gore on this one. I don't know, I was really hoping the guys who mixed up the horror genre with Talk to Me would give us something a little more original, but I can still say that Bring Her Back gets my recommendation, and you should still see this in a theater with an audience, preferably a squeamish one. If you need a good reason to get out and go pay for a good horror movie and sit in an air-conditioned theater in the summer, go see Bring Her Back. There's definitely worse ways to spend your time.
Like watching Marvel's Fantastic Four, for example.
At the end of the day, it's a well put together film, but it's also very mid, in my opinion. But I'm glad to see that there's still room for well-made horror films that are just kind of okay. And I think that's getting back to normalcy. So can I recommend Bring Her Back? Yes, mostly. It's still a good use of your time if you're into horror movies. That it's not a home run, but it's not bad either. Definitely worth a look. Solid. The 4K and Blu-ray of Sinners is about to be released on July 8th. You already know I got my pre-order in, and I'll be doing a review and unboxing of that on this channel, so keep your eyes peeled for that. With that said, don't forget to like this video, share and subscribe to the channel, and as always, keep those eyes red, baby. See ya.
Love for sale. Ties and yummy love for.
Starting to fall apart. We don't have much time.
The
tracks are kicking in. Look at him. He's done.